I stare at the polished oak door of Homespun Café, my cafe, willing it to swing open. The brass handle gleams in the morning light, almost mocking my anticipation. It's been 20 minutes since our grand opening, and not a single family member has shown up. My phone buzzes against the marble countertop. Another notification. I unlock the screen to find a flood of congratulatory messages from former classmates, neighbors, even my old high school math teacher. The words blur together as I scroll. So proud of you. Can't wait to visit. Following your dreams. None from Mom, none from Dad, nothing from Sierra or Elliot. A knot tightens in my throat. I open our family group chat. The most recent message sits there like a stone in my chest. A photo of Mom and Dad standing proudly beside Elliot at some corporate award ceremony. His perfect white smile beams beneath a banner reading, "Excellence in Financial Innovation." Mom's caption, "So proud of our son tonight." My stomach drops like I've missed a step on a staircase. I blink hard, fighting the sting behind my eyes as the truth settles in. They've chosen Elliot again, on the most important day of my life. They're celebrating him instead. I set the phone face down on the counter, my hands trembling slightly. The cafe, my cafe, stands ready, gleaming. Espresso machines hum, pastry cases shine. I spent days hand-painting signs, arranging cushioned window seats. Everything I dreamed of since I was a little girl, sketching her imaginary bakery in crayon. And now, here I am, completely alone. I had imagined a place where everyone felt at home, where the scent of coffee and fresh bread wrapped around you like a warm blanket. I pictured my parents sitting at the best table, telling everyone who'd listen, "Our daughter made all this." The memory of endless double shifts floods back. Waitressing mornings at the diner, bartending nights at the hotel lounge. Years of sore feet, aching backs, and slow savings. Watching my balance grow, dollar by dollar, until I'd scraped together $92,000, all while Elliot attended Wharton on our parents' dime. His apartment paid for. His future secured. "It's cute that you're interested in cooking, honey," Mom had said when I mentioned culinary school. But it's not exactly practical, is it? Not like Elliot's business degree. I run my fingers along the exposed brick wall, the one I stripped and refinished myself after finding this perfect little storefront in downtown Portland. 3 months of renovation, painting until midnight, installing fixtures before dawn, learning plumbing from YouTube tutorials. All while my family asked when I'd finally get serious about my future. For the past week, I've been up at 4 a.m. to bake, working until 9 p.m., to make sure everything would be perfect today. Perfect for the family that never showed up. Maybe if this takes off, they'll finally notice me, I whisper to the empty cafe. The words linger in the air, pathetic, familiar. How many times have I chased their approval? How many times have I shrunk myself to fit their expectations? The memory of that art school acceptance letter flashes in my mind, the one I turned down because Dad said artists starve, and Mom worried what the relatives would say. The first of many dreams laid to rest on the altar of family approval. Years of biting my tongue when Elliot interrupted me at dinner. Years of smiling through Sierra's backhanded compliments about my quirky ideas. Years of making myself smaller just to avoid being called difficult or dramatic. Years spent waiting for validation that never came. My phone buzzes again. Dad's name lights up the screen with a message that makes my jaw tighten. "We need to talk about your cafe situation." My fingers hover over the keyboard. The old Carly would have apologized. Would have asked what she did wrong. Would have begged for guidance. But something stops me. Maybe it's seeing my logo on the window. Maybe it's remembering how my hands trembled when I signed that business license. Whatever it is, I type back. "The cafe's doing fine, thanks." 3 dots appear as Sierra starts typing. A moment later, a single heart emoji. Her trademark passive-aggressive stamp of disapproval, sweet enough to sting. I close the chat and slip the phone into my pocket. A knock on the window pulls me back. A line has formed outside, real customers waiting. I smooth my apron, paste on a smile, and unlock the door. "Welcome to Homespun," I say, holding it open as they stream in, oohing over the pastry cases. "These croissants look amazing. Did you make all these yourself?" The atmosphere is just right. Their praise flows over me as I pour coffee and box pastries, soaking up the appreciation of strangers while my family's silence hums in the background. Everything okay, boss? Rachel, my barista, asks during a lull. She catches me glancing at my phone again, checking for messages that won't come. I tuck it away and lift my chin. Just family stuff, I say, nodding toward the bustling cafe where people laugh and sip lattes exactly as I pictured. This is what matters now. The words feel true, even as that old ache lingers beneath my ribs. Maybe this cafe isn't just about proving something to them. Maybe it's about proving something to myself. A young woman steps up to the counter, clutching one of my lavender shortbread cookies. This is the best thing I've eaten in months, she says, eyes bright with genuine delight. I'll definitely be back tomorrow. This time my smile feels real. I'll be here, I tell her. 3 Sundays later, the familiar scent of Mom's potpourri hits me as I step through the front door of my childhood home. My stomach knots the way it always does before one of these family talks. I know better than to believe this is just Sunday dinner. Dad's text made it clear. We need to discuss your business venture. There she is. Elliot's voice booms from the living room. My brother lounges in Dad's leather armchair, one ankle resting casually on his knee, a designer watch flashing as he raises his whiskey glass in mock salute. How's life in the cupcake world? He asks. I force a smile, refusing to bite. Homespun's doing great, actually. We had lines out the door this weekend. That's nice, honey. Mom appears from the kitchen, wiping her hands on her apron. Her smile falters halfway to her eyes. Your father wants to see you in his study before dinner. Of course he does. The study is where the real family business happens, where Elliot was praised for getting into Wharton, and where Sierra announced her promotion to digital marketing director. It's never been a place of good news for me. Dad sits behind his mahogany desk, reading glasses perched low on his nose. A copy of Forbes lies open in front of him, folded to a specific article. Without looking up, he slides it toward me. 80% of cafes fail within 3 years, I read aloud, my voice flat. Richard, Mom says softly from the doorway. Let her eat something first. This can't wait, Lillian. Dad removes his glasses, giving me that same stern look that once made 16-year-old me confess to taking his car without asking. Your mother and I have been talking about your situation. My situation? Heat rises up my neck. You mean my business? The one that's been open 3 weeks and is already beating projections? Projections you made, Sierra adds, leaning against the doorframe beside Mom, arms crossed. Without any real business experience? I turn to face her. At 33, she's the mirror image of Mom. Same honey blonde hair, same delicate features. But with Dad's usual unshakable certainty. I did market research. I took business classes at the community college. Community college? Elliot snorts, appearing behind Sierra with a fresh drink. That's adorable. You're creative, honey, Mom adds, her tone softer but no less condescending. That's a wonderful gift. But you're not practical. You never have been. And you've poured your entire savings into this venture. Dad presses on, tapping the Forbes article without consulting anyone who actually understands business. I consulted plenty of people, I protest. Professional bakers, cafe owners, other dreamers. Dad waves a hand dismissively. Not financial advisors. Not strategists. Which is why we have a proposal. Elliot steps forward, setting his glass on Dad's desk. I'll handle the financials. I've turned around failing businesses before. Failing? The word catches in my throat. Homespun isn't failing. Not yet, Sierra mutters, examining her manicure. As a consultant, I normally charge for this service. Elliot continues as if I hadn't spoken. But as family, I'm offering to help pro bono. All you need to do is add me to your business account so I can monitor cash flow and make adjustments. The room seems to close in around me. You want access to my business account? The thought alone makes my hands go cold. Years of double shifts, of coming home with aching feet, crying in the shower, counting every penny, and now they want to hand it all to Elliot. It's for your own good, Mom says, reaching for my hand. I pull away. We're trying to help, Dad insists, his tone hardening. Before you lose everything. The unspoken threat lingers in the air. Cooperate or face their disappointment. Their withdrawal. The invisible strings they've always attached to their love tighten around my throat. When this collapses, Dad continues, leaning back in his chair. Don't say we didn't try to help. When, not if. The certainty in his voice should crush me. Instead, something shifts inside, a quiet click like a lock turning. I've seen this scene before. Their concern disguised as support, positioning Elliot as my savior. I've played my part too many times, nodding gratefully while they explained why my dreams needed their guidance, their control. But looking at them now, Dad's stern disapproval, Mom's weary concern, Sierra's smug detachment, Elliot's confident smirk, I finally understand. They've never believed in me, not once. Their help has always been about control, never support, and I don't need to argue anymore. Not about my business plan, my projections, or the customers who come back day after day. Words won't change their minds, only proof will. Thank you for your concern, I say at last, my voice steadier than I expected. I'll think about it. The surprise on their faces is almost comical. They were bracing for tears, anger, or instant surrender, not calm composure. That's all we ask, Mom replies quickly, relief softening her features. Now come on, dinner's getting cold. We move to the dining room. My phone vibrates in my pocket. A text from Rachel. How's the family ambush going? Need an emergency call to escape? A smile tugs at my lips as I type back. Not yet. Thanks for checking. Another message lights up. From Tessa, the florist 2 doors down from Homespun. Customer loved your croissants with my arrangements. Thinking we could do a Mother's Day special together. Beneath that, one from the barbershop owner across the street. Cross promo idea, haircut discounts with coffee purchase. And below that, an email notification. Portland. Chronicle food writer requests interview about new downtown cafe sensation. I slip the phone back into my pocket as Elliot launches into another story about his latest consulting triumph. Under the table, my fingers finally unclench. I don't need my family's validation to succeed. I just need to prove them wrong. 4 days later, the phone rings for the 3rd time that week, right on schedule. Dad's name flashes across the screen as I slide trays of sourdough into the oven at Willow and Whisk. This is Carly, I answer professionally, tucking the phone between my ear and shoulder. Just checking in, Dad says. His tone casual but his intent transparent. Wanted to see how things are going with the cafe. I brush flour from my hands. Business is great, actually. Just pulled in our highest weekend numbers yet. That's nice. The pause says everything. I read that small businesses often have a honeymoon period before reality sets in. Just want to make sure you're ready when things level out. My jaw tightens. I appreciate your concern. Your mother and I worry. That's what parents do. After we hang up, I add another tally mark in my notebook under Dad's concerned calls, number 12 since opening day. The bell above the door jingles. Mom breezes in, designer purse swinging from her arm. Surprise, she says, planting an air kiss near my cheek. I was in the neighborhood and thought I'd stop by. Just wrapped up the morning rush, I tell her, gesturing to the half-empty display case. Sold out before 11. She glances around, her fingertip tracing invisible dust on the counter. Have you considered hiring more help? You look tired. Before I can respond, my phone buzzes again, a text from Elliot. Interesting article about why independent cafes struggle to compete with big chains. Thought it might help you rethink your approach before things get harder. Link attached. Moments later, Sierra's message appears, just beneath one about a franchise opportunity downtown. A safer, steadier income than running solo. Want me to grab you a brochure? I slip the phone into my pocket without replying and turn my attention back to the notebook in front of me. Each page is filled with carefully logged sales numbers, customer counts, and glowing reviews. The numbers don't lie, we're growing. Each week in the kitchen, I refine my signature strawberry lavender tart. Months of testing went into that recipe, and it doesn't exist in any other bakery in Portland. The delicate blend of floral and fruity notes has made it our best seller. The florist on Maple wants to display your business cards, Rachel says, coming in with a stack of mail. Customers keep asking where to get coffee after buying flowers. I smile, adding it to my growing list of local collaborations. The bookstore already gives discounts to anyone with a Willow and Whisk receipt, and we return the favor. The vintage boutique showcases our pastries at their weekend fashion shows. The neighborhood brewery serves our coffee during their morning hours. Speaking of partnerships, Rachel adds, that Instagram post of your cinnamon rolls got over 200 likes overnight. The food photographer you hired? She's incredible, she's right. Our follower count has tripled since I invested in professional photos. Each image captures more than food. It shows the warmth of Willow and Whisk, the hand-painted mugs, reclaimed wood tables, and cozy window seats where regulars linger for hours. By the register, flyers announce this weekend's community tasting event, 5 new experimental pastries, limited quantities, first come, first served. A local food blogger with 8,000 followers promised to attend. Friday morning brings the usual rush. The line snakes out the door. I'm balancing 3 drink orders when I spot Elliot striding in, his tailored suit looking out of place among the casual crowd. Busy morning, he notes, raising an eyebrow as he surveys the room. The usual. I hand a latte to a grateful regular. Elliot sets his briefcase on the counter. Thought I'd drop by and take a look at your books while you're busy. Offer a little professional insight. The cafe hums around us, college students debating philosophy, a writer typing furiously, an elderly couple sharing a scone and holding hands across the table. I'm managing my finances just fine, I say, keeping my voice even despite the flicker of irritation. Come on, Carly. He lowers his tone. We both know hobby ventures need real oversight. Let me help before you get in over your head. His words land with practiced precision. I set down the pitcher I'm holding and meet his gaze. This isn't a hobby, Elliot. It's a business, my business. And right now, I have paying customers to serve. I nod toward the door. His expression tightens as he catches the dismissal. The bell jingles as he leaves. Everything okay? Rachel asks, concern etched across her brow. Just family being family. I square my shoulders and return to the espresso machine. She squeezes my arm. For what it's worth, I'd pick your coffee over any chain in Portland. We all would. She nods toward the regulars who watch the exchange unfold. Notifications light up my phone. A customer tags us in a post about our life-changing almond croissants. The bookstore owner messages to say their sales spike every time they promote our pastry deliveries. A tourist pauses to tell me the vintage shop owner insisted she visit Portland's coziest cafe before leaving town. Saturday brings an unexpected thrill. A woman in a crisp blazer walks in during the mid-morning lull, notebook in hand. Carly Monroe? She offers her card. Vanessa Walker, Portland Chronicle. I'm writing a feature on independent businesses thriving against corporate giants. Your name keeps coming up. I blink, taken aback. My cafe? The cozy spot that outsold downtown chains? That's my working title, she says with a smile. Your numbers are remarkable compared to the chain 3 blocks over. Mind if I ask a few questions? The interview stretches through my lunch break. Vanessa photographs the space, the pastries, and me behind the counter. She observes the flow of customers, the warm greetings, the easy laughter, the kind of comfort big brands can't fake. When she finally leaves, I check my email to find a catering inquiry from Technova, the prestigious software company that just opened headquarters downtown. We've heard glowing things about your pastries. Would you be interested in providing breakfast for our weekly executive meetings? By Sunday afternoon, the Chronicle article goes live. The headline reads exactly as Vanessa promised, with a subheading, How Willow and Whisk Became a Community Hub and Outperformed the Chains. It highlights our steady growth, local partnerships, and quotes from loyal customers who choose us over cheaper, more convenient options. A chart shows our sales curve, a steady climb that defies the usual first-year slump. Most new businesses struggle to find their footing. Mine somehow hasn't stopped buzzing. My phone rings nonstop with congratulations. The cafe fills with curious newcomers clutching the newspaper. Rachel proudly pins the article to our bulletin board. That evening, I curl up in my apartment above the cafe, listening to the familiar creaks of the old building settling. The article still glows on my tablet screen. With a deep breath, I copy the link and paste it into the family group chat with a short message. Willow and Whisk got featured today. I set my phone down, not waiting for replies. Tomorrow means another early morning of baking. Another day of proving myself not to them but to me. The journey continues, one pastry at a time. The scent of fresh sourdough fills the cafe as I pull another batch from the oven. 6 months in, and homespun has grown from a desperate dream into something tangible, thriving, and real. The chalkboard menu above the counter has doubled in size, filled with customer favorites that began as weekend experiments. Emma, can you take these scones to the display case? I hand a tray to one of my new part-time employees, still learning to delegate after months of doing everything alone. She smiles. Sure thing, Carly. They smell incredible. The lavender honey ones sold out before noon yesterday, says Thomas, my other new hire, as he steams milk for a cappuccino. Should I tell customers we're limiting them to 2 per person today? I pause, brushing flour from my hands. Let's see how it goes. I made an extra batch. The cafe hums with life. Laptops open, quiet chatter, the espresso machine singing its familiar tune. My eyes wander to the wall where 3 framed newspaper clippings now hang. The latest headline reads, Portland's hidden gem no longer hidden. Beside my old mixer stands a new industrial one, an essential upgrade after landing contracts with 3 local hotels. The Riverside, the Magnolia, and the Wellington now serve my pastries with their morning coffee service. Their daily orders alone have driven my revenue higher than I ever thought possible. Monthly. Total. Rachel says, sliding a paper across the counter during a rare lull. She's moved up from barista to assistant manager, taking charge of finances so I can focus on baking and expansion. The number at the bottom makes me blink twice. 48,000? That can't be right, I whisper. Double-checked it myself, Rachel replies with a proud grin. Up 17% from last month. The hotel accounts put us over the top. I lean against the counter, legs a little unsteady. When I first opened Homespun, Dad predicted I'd be lucky to clear $15,000 a month after expenses. Now we've tripled that. My phone buzzes with the familiar tone for family messages. For a moment, I think about ignoring it. I don't rush to read their texts the way I used to, but curiosity wins. Dad, saw another article about your cafe. Remember, a flash in the pan isn't success. My heart dips, but not like before. The words don't sting as sharply now. Elliot chimes in next. Popularity isn't profit. Then Carly, how are your margins looking then? And finally, Mom. Honey, we're just worried you're working too hard on something temporary. Don't burn yourself out. 6 months ago, those messages would have sent me spiraling, typing long, defensive replies with spreadsheets and business projections attached, begging for their approval. Today, I just type one short message. Monthly revenue just hit $48,000. We're expanding wholesale to 3 hotels. If you'd like to see it for yourselves, we're hosting a community tasting day next Saturday. All are welcome. I slip my phone back into my pocket without waiting for replies. The kitchen timer beeps, calling me back to what actually matters. Later that evening, I sit in Dr. Winter's office for my bi-weekly therapy session. The soft leather chair cradles me as I recount the latest family group chat. Notice anything about your reaction this time? She asks, her silver-rimmed glasses catching the glow of the lamp beside her. I didn't feel the need to defend myself, I say slowly. I just stated the facts, she nods approvingly. That's meaningful progress. What's changed? I pause, tracing the carpet's pattern with my eyes. I think I finally see the bigger picture. No matter what I do, they downplay it. If I earn $15,000, it's not 30. If I make 48, they call it luck or a fluke. And what does that tell you? Dr. Winters prompts. That it's not about me, I reply. The truth settles in, heavy but strangely freeing. It's about their insecurities, or their fixed idea of who I am in the family. The screw-up. The dreamer. The impractical one. Which means? She asks softly. Which means I'll never get the validation I've been chasing. I exhale. They can't give what they don't have. Her smile is gentle. So where does that leave you? I think of the woman who came back 3 times last week for my cardamom coffee cake. The hotel manager who said my pastries were the highlight of guests' mornings. Emma and Thomas choosing to stay at Homespun when they had other offers. It leaves me creating instead of proving, I say. the words coming with unexpected clarity. Building something that fulfills me instead of begging for approval. The weight lifts, so suddenly it feels like I might float right out of the chair. Saturday arrives with perfect weather for the community tasting day. Tables spill onto the sidewalk, samples of new menu items inviting passersby to stop and smile. Local vendors I've partnered with have their own booths, coffee, teas, and jams that pair beautifully with my baking. The lemon blueberry tart is a hit, Emma calls out, refilling a tray. Oh, and those journalists from Food Portland want to talk to you when you have a minute. I'm about to head their way when a familiar silver SUV pulls up across the street. My stomach knots as 4 figures step out. Dad in his weekend golf shirt. Mom clutching her designer handbag. Elliot in business casual despite it being the weekend. And Sierra with her picture-perfect family in tow. They weren't supposed to come. I invited them as a courtesy, never imagining they actually would. Rachel notices my expression. Family? She asks, reading me like a book. I nod, straightening my homespun apron. This should be interesting. They move through the event like visiting dignitaries, scrutinizing everything with critical eyes. I greet them with professional politeness, then excuse myself to talk to the journalist nearby, watching the family dynamics unfold from the corner of my eye. Dad picks up a croissant and breaks it apart. The lamination could be more consistent, he announces, loud enough for nearby customers to hear. Carly always rushes the folding process. Mom brushes imaginary crumbs from a perfectly clean table. The tables are a bit close together, don't you think? Feels cramped. Sierra rearranges the sample display. These would look better grouped by color rather than flavor, she tells Thomas, who glances at me, confused. But it's Elliot who really oversteps. I finish my interview and find him deep in conversation with the journalist, one hand casually resting on the counter like he owns the place. As I was telling my sister when she was developing the business model, he says, artisanal quality at scale requires systematic efficiency. I helped implement some of those systems. The journalist nods, scribbling notes. I step forward, my temperature rising before I can even speak. Dad joins them. The initial investment was substantial, he tells the reporter with a self-satisfied nod. Sometimes these creative types need a little financial backing from family to get started. The lie hangs in the air. Every penny that built Homespun came from my savings, my sweat, my sleepless nights. For a fleeting moment, the old Carly resurfaces, the one desperate for approval, afraid to correct her family, willing to shrink herself just to keep pace. But then I look around at what I've built, the community enjoying their food, the employees who depend on me. I step forward not with anger or defensiveness, but with quiet certainty. The journalist turns toward me. In that moment, I realize I don't need to fight or defend myself. My success speaks for itself. Thank you all for coming, I say to my family, loud enough for the reporters to hear. It means a lot that you could see what I've built from the ground up. The weight of my words isn't lost on anyone. Dad's jaw tightens. Elliot shifts uncomfortably, and Mom suddenly becomes fascinated with her purse. For the first time, though, their unease isn't mine to fix. I turn to the journalist with a calm smile. Now you are asking about our expansion plans. Leading the reporters away, I feel something settle inside me. Not triumph, not vindication, but something quieter and enduring. Freedom. A week later, while arranging pastries in the display case, my phone buzzes. Family dinner tonight. We need to discuss the cafe's future. My father's name lights up the screen. The words seem casual, as if dinner with the family is routine. I stare at the message, thumb hovering over the keyboard. Weeks have passed since the awkward silence that followed my polite refusal of their help. Weeks filled with record sales and glowing reviews they pretended not to notice. Everything okay? Rachel asks, peering over my shoulder. Family dinner invitation, I say, setting the phone aside. Apparently, she snorts. You mean the future of your wildly successful business they never believed in? I can't help smiling even as a knot forms in my stomach. Exactly that one. Later, I sit at my parents' mahogany dining table, the same table where my business ideas were once dismissed as cute little projects, my AITA. Mother serves her signature pot roast, while my father clears his throat. Importantly, Carly, he begins in his boardroom voice, your mother and I have been talking, and now that the cafe has proven itself, I'd like to officially invest. I take a small bite, buying myself a moment to process. Invest? That's unexpected. He leans forward, excitement evident. I've drawn up plans for expansion. We could turn Homespun into a full-fledged franchise. Elliot could manage the business side naturally. Elliot nods, already reaching for his portfolio. I've drafted a 5-year growth plan. With the right leverage of your current assets, initial capital would be minimal. I could also professionalize your social media presence, Sierra interjects, scrolling through her phone. Your current aesthetic is charming, but it lacks cohesion. My mother places her hand over mine. Think about it, sweetie. A real family business? All of us working together. Wouldn't that be wonderful? The pressure coils around me like rising water. I recognize the strategy, the coordinated approach pressing in from every angle, until I feel too overwhelmed to resist. This could strengthen our family bonds. My mother continues, her voice soft with practiced sincerity. You've been so independent lately. It feels like you're pulling away, my father says, frowning. Success shouldn't come at the cost of family unity. Carly going solo when you could have family support seems... Sierra hesitates, choosing her word. Selfish. The unspoken threat hangs in the air. Refuse the partnership. Lose the emotional connection. I've spent a lifetime fearing exactly this. Your initial success is impressive, my father concedes. But without proper business expertise, ventures like this rarely last. I'm saved from responding by the buzz of my phone. I glance down, my supplier, excuse me. I need to take this. I step into the hallway, grateful for the interruption, until I hear the message. We're discontinuing service to smaller accounts. Supply chain issues. Last delivery next week, unless you can guarantee minimum orders. The number he quotes is staggering. Impossible for a cafe my size. Perfect timing. My family offers a lifeline. Just as disaster looms, the coincidence feels almost orchestrated. I return to the table. 4 expectant faces wait. I consider giving in. The supplier crisis could devastate my business. My family's resources could solve it instantly. But something stops me. Perhaps it's the memory of dawn light filtering through my cafe windows. Or maybe it's the weight of the keys in my pocket. Keys to something I built entirely on my own. Thank you for the offer. I say, my voice steadier than I feel. But I have to decline. My father's eyebrows shoot up. Carly, be reasonable. I built this without your help or belief, I continue, finally letting the words I've rehearsed slip into the air. And I'll continue that way. I reach into my bag and pull out a folder. I've just signed an exclusive contract with Blackbird Roasters. They've taken home the regional barista championship 3 years running. Sliding the contract across the table, I explain that they're supplying me at premium rates because they believe in what I'm building. Sierra's mouth falls open slightly. But aren't suppliers cutting small accounts? She asks. Some are. I nod. I pull out another document, my quarterly financials. I'm exceeding projections by 32%. My father's fingers twitch toward the papers, and I meet his gaze, saying nothing. Finally, I place a last document on the table, the lease for my second location downtown near the art museum. Silence falls over the room. For the first time in my life, I've left my family speechless. 3 weeks later, it's community tasting day. Customers spill onto the sidewalk, clutching coffee cups and sample plates. A reporter from the Portland Herald weaves through the crowd, notebook in hand. Excuse me, she says, approaching Elliot near the pastry table. Are you with the cafe? He straightens his tie. I'm Elliot Monroe. Her eyes light up with recognition. Oh, your sister's business is kind of a local phenomenon. Everyone's talking about her expansion plans. I step forward, unable to resist. This is my business, I clarify. And no, I don't need financial oversight. Elliot's face flushes as the reporter moves on, already distracted by the mayor's arrival. Mayor Thompson approaches, extending her hand. Congratulations on transforming this corner. Your cafe has become a neighborhood anchor. Miss Monroe then interrupts an older gentleman in a tailored suit. The Business Association would like to present you with this year's Entrepreneurship Award. My father stands frozen nearby, watching as his golf partner, the city's most respected real estate developer, enthusiastically shakes my hand. Your customer retention strategies are remarkable, he says. The owner of a competing coffee shop leans in with a whisper. Would you consider sharing your approach at our next industry meeting? The owner of the bookstore next door squeezes my arm. Foot traffic has doubled since you opened. Thank you. A rush of vindication spins through me as the evidence stacks up. My passion project has breathed new life into an entire block. The shift in power is tangible as my family watches my success unfold. Elliot straightens, no longer the sole achiever among us, uncertainty flickering across his features. My father offers a stiff, awkward congratulations, pride and discomfort tangled in his smile. Sierra approaches cautiously. Your cafe photos are incredible. Could you share some photography tips for my clients? And finally, my mother finds me alone by the register, tears glistening. I never thought this would actually work, she whispers. I glance around at my thriving cafe, at customers savoring their meals. I've built this with staff I've trained, turning a dream into reality through sheer persistence. I know, I tell her, the words finally free of bitterness. That's why I had to prove it to myself. Food and Flavor magazine sprawls across my desk, glossy pages capturing my cafe in a 4-page feature. Willow and Whiskey. Portland's hidden gem shines in full glory. I trace the photos with my fingers. Customers lounging in sunlit window seats. Display cases overflowing with pastries. My signature lavender shortbread cookies lined in perfect rows. A knock at my office door interrupts me. Boss Trevor stands there, clipboard in hand. The corporate order for Lewis Financial is ready for delivery, and the Hendersons confirmed final numbers for their wedding tasting tomorrow. Thanks, I reply, smiling. One of 12 dedicated employees who have helped turn my dream into something far bigger than I ever imagined. How are the workshops shaping up, I ask. 23 sign-ups for next week's pastry class. We might need to add another session. 1 year. 1 year ago, I stood alone in this space, unsure if anyone would come. Now we're managing a second location across town, a booming catering division, monthly baking workshops, and a line of packaged goods stocked in specialty stores across Oregon. Carly Rachel Burson carries a massive flower arrangement. They just arrived for the anniversary party. Where should I put these? She asks. By the entrance. The caterers arrive at 4. I check my watch. I can't believe we actually hired caterers. It feels strange not to be cooking for our own celebration. You deserve to enjoy your party without having to work it, she says, giving me a knowing look. Your family confirmed they're coming? I nod, no longer feeling that pit in my stomach. All of them. The cafe transforms over the afternoon. Twinkling lights, champagne flutes, framed photos tracing our journey. I straighten a centerpiece as the first guests arrive. Loyal customers, local vendors, fellow small business owners who've become friends. Then my family walks in. Dad shakes my hand firmly, the pastry chef. Mom admires the decorations. Elliot and Sierra weave through the crowd, stopping to inspect the packaged cookie display. But they aren't the focus. They're just part of the tapestry of the moment. Rachel taps her glass to get everyone's attention. A toast. She lifts her champagne to the woman who never gave up on her dream. Applause flows through the room. I take in the familiar faces around me, the same family members who skipped my grand opening. But this time the dynamic is different. They're here as guests, not as validators. Their presence is welcome, but no longer essential. Congratulations, Carly, Mom says, approaching with a gift bag. The magazine feature inside is impressive. Thanks, I reply, taking the bag without the old, desperate need for her approval. Have you thought about expanding the package line? I noticed a gap in the gluten-free market, Dad suggests. A year ago, this would have made me anxious, second-guessing every business decision. Now I simply nod. We're exploring options for next quarter. Later, I retreat to my office for a moment of quiet, opening my journal to read the entry I wrote that morning. Success isn't about proving others wrong. It's about proving yourself right. Words I've finally learned to live by. Monthly check-ins with Dr. Marshall have helped me separate my family relationships from my business identity. I can recognize my parents' limited perspective without resentment. I value Elliot's marketing suggestions while still honoring my own instincts. Our interactions now have quality, if not quantity. Next month, my internship program for community college students begins. 5 aspiring bakers will discover what took me years to learn. Build something because you love it, not to prove a point. I'll share how the revenge-driven narrative I once clung to has evolved into something far more valuable. True inspiration. A knock interrupts my thoughts. Elliot appears in the doorway. Got a minute? I've been thinking about starting my own consulting firm. Would love your input on the business plan. The irony isn't lost on me. My brother, the golden child with a Wharton degree, seeking my advice. Later, I overhear Dad speaking with his business associates. My daughter's place, he says, pride clear in his voice. Sierra showcases willow and whisk photos in her marketing portfolio. Mom shares baking techniques she's learned from me, not for hierarchy, but out of mutual respect. After everyone leaves, I lock the door behind them and stand alone in the darkened cafe. My hand brushes the worn brick walls that once felt impossibly out of reach. My gaze rests on 2 framed items side by side, my first dollar earned, and the Portland Chronicle article that called Willow and Whisk a culinary destination. They once called it a hobby, now it's my life. But more importantly, it has always been my passion, whether they recognized it or not. External validation was never the true goal. I realize that now, standing amidst the life I've built, brick by brick, pastry by pastry, following a vision that was always clear to me, even when others couldn't see it. Have you ever pursued a dream that others dismissed as impractical? What would you say to someone whose passion isn't being taken seriously by the people closest to them? Share your thoughts below, subscribe,